Well, good evening and welcome once again to another live session with A Home in Italy. My name's David Benton, and together with my wife Silvana, we've been helping clients for far too many years purchase properties in beautiful Italy, and in particular, this stunning region of Abruzzo. There you go. What an intro, eh? What an intro. So tonight's live stream is inside the notary office. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, believe it or not, we're going to be talking about inside the notary's office. A little bit obvious, isn't it? But there you go. I want to tell people, I'll show a couple of photographs of what it is actually like inside. And then we're going to talk about some of the documents that I looked at beforehand, everything that gets checked before you go to the notary's office. And the same documents that I used at the notary's office. And if we get time, I'm going to run through quickly the contract and the kind of things that's in the contract. So it's going to be one of those educational videos, one of those really boring. No, it's not going to be boring. We'll try and make it as fun as possible. But we do have to go through some of these educational ones. Otherwise, it can't all be fun, can it? Life is not all fun. Okay, you've been told. Tony's leaving. Hi from Tony and Tanya in Nova Scotia. Our docs are almost done here, just waiting on our apostle stamp for our power of attorney. Tony, you see, Troy, I was getting excited until you put that at the end. But looking forward to completing on yours and many others during February. We're going for it big style. The year has kicked off all crazy. I wonder why. Has something happened recently? Did something happen yesterday? Maybe no. I can't really think. Anyway, we welcome any person from any side of the political spectrum anywhere in the world. There you go. Anyway, so what have I got to tell you today before we get started? We have got for you tonight, I say we're doing inside the notary's office. We've also got stunning photo of the week. We have also got Domenico and Tony's tongue twisting trial. What else have we got to say? Let's get a few notices up. What have we got to do? Remember, if you're looking for a property to rent in Abruzzo, then you can contact our friends at rentinabruzzo@gmail.com. You can also see their YouTube channel on there, youtube.com/@rentinabruzzo, where you'll see videos of their properties that they've got available for long and short-term rent. So if you're considering or you're wanting to get your visa without having to buy a property, you want to get a 12 months contract, then contact them and see what they've got. They've got places in Sulmona, place in Palombaro, and a couple of places in towns, a few different towns around the Sulmona area. So get in touch, rentinabruzzo@gmail.com. Just make sure that you spell it right, which you should do by now. You should know how to spell Abruzzo. But so many people's put 2 B's and 1 Z and everything else. But look, take a photograph. There's a photo. There's the address that you need to send it to. What else have we got? The tour. We've got a tour next week. Can't wait for that. I believe the WhatsApp group has been set up. I shall be contacting, sending a message myself on WhatsApp. If any of you are watching on that's coming on the tour, I will be contacting you in the next couple of days on the WhatsApp group. Really looking forward to that one. Love the January tours. The weather looks like it may be kind. So we are fingers crossed for that. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And then hello from Arizona. If buying cash, what's the best way for transfer of funds? If you go onto our website, which is the www.ahomeinitaly.com, and just scroll down, you will see a section on how the best way to change your money. It's we deal with a company called Currencies Direct. You'll see a video there, tell you all about it. Register with them. They're absolutely fantastic. So what other things have I got to say? I've got to say tour dates. So the tour date, if I can just grab the screen 1 second, Tony. I know you've put it on the ticker, but you see, he's been very slow, Tony, the producer today, isn't he? He said that I want him to move that comment. Can you move the comment away, Tony? There you go. I'll tell you now, when we go to the camera for his part of the tongue twisting trials, he's still got his Christmas tree up. That just shows you what kind of a person he is. He's still got his Christmas tree. I know his wife comes from Kazakhstan, and I know they celebrate things later. but we're on the 21st. And he actually watched a Christmas film as well the other day. Anyway, these are the potential. Oh no, these are the tour dates for the first part of the year. So January is sold out, March is sold out, May the 8th and 9th. There's 15 spaces left on that. Only 15 spaces. And the 29th and 30th of May, 14 spaces left. So you need to get booking, folks, because once they're gone, they're gone. I sound like a market trader now, don't I? No offense to market traders, I'm just saying. And then we've got the proposed autumn tour dates, which you're probably seeing run along the bottom of your screen. They will be ready for sale, should we say, in the next couple of weeks. I just need to double check on the October dates. I'm just waiting for one thing to come in, and then I can definitely say, but we are 99% that these will be the dates. So it's always a Thursday and Friday, the 25th, 26th of September, 23rd and 24th of October, and then the 6th and 7th of November, because we tend not to do them when it gets too near to Christmas. I know a lot of people may not want to go away sort of December time. So keep your eye out for that. I will be advertising them really soon. Okay, Tone, are we ready? Let's do the stunning photo of the week. See at that point, oh, he did it quick. Look, he moved it and changed it. Well done, Tom. So the stunning photo of the week comes from Chris Johnston. And I really like this photograph, which is why it's the stunning photograph of the week. Are you ready? Here we go. Look at that. What a great photograph. Anybody know where that is? Anybody want to take a quick guess? I'll give you, it's a 10-second test. See if anybody gets, let's take that off. Anybody know where that is? 10 seconds to go. Let's see how on the ball you are today. Anybody got it yet, Tone? I can't see. You'll have to put it on the chat if anybody's got it. I don't know if anybody's even joined us tonight. I don't even know how many people's watching us because my little ticker's not working. Should rephrase that, shouldn't I? Anyway, anybody guessed it, Tone? Nobody knows where it is. No, he's shaking his head. Shocking. Oh, hang on a minute. No, I think he's saying that he knows, or somebody is. He's not very quick. Oh, here we go. Doreen. Well done, Doreen. Yes, it is Assisi. It's the famous church of the St. Francis of Assisi in Umbria. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. That is a stunning photo of the week. Even though Abruzzo is better than Umbria, it's still a fantastic place to visit. And if you haven't done, you must go to Assisi because it is a really, really beautiful place. Okay, so that's got rid of that. I've got screens. I've got a new screen, and things are a little bit all over the place today. So I may be a little bit out of sort, so to speak. Okay, so we're just about ready to get started. If you please make sure that any questions that you do ask are relevant to what we're talking about. So we're talking about inside the notary's office and covering some of the documents. You know what that sound is, don't you? It's time. It's time for Domenico and Tony's tongue twisting trials. For those of you who have never seen, Brad's telling me 55 watch out. I don't see, we get extra numbers, Brad. I don't know how it works. There's so many on YouTube, there's so many on Facebook, and then people come in and out. So Tony's showing me a higher number. So we usually live on the night, we usually have around 200 people or up to 200 people that goes up as we move along. And then within an hour or two, it suddenly starts jumping those people that can't get in live, but usually on the live sessions anywhere between 150 and 200, which is fantastic. So where were, oh yes, Domenico and Tony's tongue twisting trials. For those of you who have never seen this show before and wondering what on earth we're talking about, in this part of the show we introduce Tony, the producer, who's going to come on and speak in his best Italian. He's going to give a famous quote from a famous film. I think I might win tonight. If I don't win tonight, then somebody's doing something dodgy with Google. Anyway, Tony's going to come on and say it in his best Italian, and then later in the show, Domenico, who's the agent we work with in the Sulmona area, is going to say it in his best English. And at that point, and only at that point, when Domenico says it in English, you've got to guess what the film is. Jacqueline Houston, Texas, filled with snow. I would love to have had a bit. We did have a little bit of snow, but not very much. The mountains got it, so the ski resorts are empty. The ski resorts are full and extremely busy, which is fantastic. But I could have done with a little bit more snow down here. Anyway, Let's bring Tony, the producer, on. Good evening, sir.
Hey up, Jock. Merry Christmas.
Hey up. Yeah, that's about right, yeah. And for those of you who don't understand what AOP means, that's a bit more, that's more northern, I think, than where you're from. You don't say that.
Oh, yeah. Sort of midway, Anna.
You're from that weird part of England.
I'm a bit of a yucca on the East Coast.
Yeah. Not like us Yorkshiremen. Anyway, are you ready? I've not sent you this yet, have I? Let me send. You ready for tonight? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to read it, yeah, and then I need to tell you. You need to get into character because it's important.
No,
here we go.
He doesn't have to get into character, does he? He does his.
No.
But
you need all the help you can get.
Oh my God.
It's not that long. I think I might win tonight. If somebody gets this, I'm going to be really surprised. Right? Are you nearly ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Go on.
Right. So listen to me. What's really important is look where the question marks are as well. Yeah. Because you need to that's important, okay, where the question marks are. And you need to do it in the style. You're a young lady.
Oh God.
Right, you're a young lady and you're a little bit fed up of a certain situation that you're in, a bit frustrated. Careful how you do things, just don't mean in that way. So are you ready? Go for it.
Ma non posso uscire per un appuntamento? Perché devi stare con me ogni minuto, voglio dire. E se lui volessi invitarmi a casa sua dopo, ci verresti anche tu.
Not bad, Tone. Not bad. Sharon's saying, come on, Tony, you've got this. Channel your feminine side. Not bad. What I will say is you missed the last question mark off.
I didn't.
And yeah. So you said all the others correctly. Right. And then the first question mark, I think that's an error, so you can get rid of that for next time you read it. But not bad. Not too bad. Okay, bye.
Bye.
He was just about to say something. What were you going to say? What was that?
No, I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, you weren't. When are you taking the Christmas tree down?
Probably this end of this week. I mean, meal is in Rome, so I might take it down tomorrow.
Do you still put the lights on as well?
No, I've given him putting the lights on.
Speak to you later. Oh dear, that's it, folks. So that's a good. Paul, what's Paul saying? Good evening, Dave and Tony and the big boss Silvano. Thank you all so much. We're nearly there as well, Paul, aren't we? We're nearly there. We're nearly there getting your place as well. Okay, so are we ready for tonight's? Let me get my what have I got to put on? There's no point me looking at the questions, Tony. I will let you I'll let you deal with that. So let me get rid of that chat box. That makes it a little bit easier for me. So we're going to be talking about inside the notary's office. This is obviously the very end of the process. So at this point, this is when we are sort of everything's ready. We're good to go to the notary. Let me just double check this question. Did you know that the Italian consulate in Houston just released their ERV income from 38 euros to 62 for a married couple? They're making it harder to get over there. I've not actually heard that, and I've heard somebody recently get in through Houston consulate. So yeah, I'm not sure. I've not heard that before, but we shall certainly make some inquiries. Everybody seems to be a rule unto their own on these incomes. There doesn't seem to be any hard and fast rule, and lots of people are saying substantial income or enough income. So just keep going for it. I'm sure that Houston apparently is the best one to do. Okay, we'll go through payments at the notary and things like that a little bit later. I will tell you all about that. So let's get started. So the thing with the notary's office, lots of people do worry about the notary's office, especially if you're coming here. Obviously, if you're doing it remote, then a lot of this is not going to be relevant for you. So you may as well just go and watch something else better on TV. But no, it's good for you to know. Because a lot of people do a lot of people think it's like a judge, like you go into sort of a court, and because obviously it's very, very official and has to be, but it's completely the opposite to what most people think. So I'm going to show you a couple of photographs of our notary. I'll introduce our notary to you, just so you can see what the office is like, and you see that it's not all scary. So let me just bring this on screen. So here we go. This is Notary Giovanni Maria Plasmati. He's based in Chieti, so it's the guy in the middle. And then there's secretaries with him that have different roles throughout everything. But as you can see, it's even though they're posing, he is a bit of a poser on this photograph, I must say. It's right in the center of Chieti. It's a beautiful location. If you look out those windows that you can't see obviously on the photograph, you can see right down the main drag, if you like. So that's what it's like. So he's a notary. He doesn't wear these wigs and long coats like we do in the UK. It's more of an office. It's more of a like a boardroom type thing. And the great thing about the notary is when you get there, you get to meet the owners as well, because there's usually the owners at one side of the table and you at this side, unless obviously it's power of attorney, then it's me at this side on your behalf and the owners at the other side. But it's a great way to get to know people, get to know the owners, and it can be quite emotional sometimes as well. And people like to have photographs taken with the owners, but it is much more relaxed than what you think. It's in the same breath, it's extremely serious, but it's probably more relaxed than what you're expecting. Here's just a couple of photographs. Obviously, everybody's sat around a table. These are the kind of documents that you will sign. You will sign things that on this particular photograph. These are old clients that bought quite a long time ago, but they're signing an energy certificate. They're signing floor plans. I'm going to talk about all of that shortly. And it's this kind of the right-hand side, there would have been the owners there. It's quite a... Here's Scott and Amanda, good friends of ours, looking very pleased with themselves. Again, you can see the kind of some of the documents that they're signing there. There's the checks that are made payable to the owners next to Scott. That doesn't always. I prefer now to do it by sending money to the notary's escrow account. Somebody was asking about that, but we provide you with the details of the notary, and you send it to their escrow account, and then they will do the transfer once everything's been registered. So it is quite a relaxed sort of environment, if you like. I'll come back to that later. So that's the main thing to understand. It's nothing to be worried about. The notary, at the end of the day, you're paying him, you're paying or her, but they work for both people. So the idea of the notary is that they make sure that contract is watertight. They will make sure every angle is covered, make sure that everything has been, all the documents are checked, and make sure there's no debts on the properties, make sure that the documents that have been laid out in front of them, they will download a lot of them again there and then from their systems to make sure everything matches. So when you actually get to the notaries, we're actually at the final stage, because prior to that, lots of documents have been checked by the secretaries, and if they contact you and say, look, we're missing this, or they've found something, that's because they do different checks at different times. So you may get a phone call to say, look, we've done some preliminary checks and we've found this. We need you to deal with it, or they will give us a list of what they need. And then obviously live on the day as well, they will do their final checks to make sure nothing has happened. So, and then what happens then? It gets sent off and gets registered, and then the property is yours and the payment's released and all the rest of it. So there's lots of things that go off, and there's lots of documents that you need, but the notary is literally the final stage. In the same breath, it's very rare that you will actually get a copy of the contract a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks beforehand. It just doesn't happen. And the reason for that is the notaries are used to, obviously, it's much easier when people are here in Italy that are not coming from abroad. You sit around the table. The notary secretary will look at things a few days before the signing. Very rarely, they'll look at it much before then. So it's usually maybe a week they start looking, then they contact you saying if they need certain things. Sometimes some notaries won't look at it until the day before, because all the documents should be in order and ready. The secretaries put everything together. The contracts pretty much standard for all of these. Every notary will have their own wording, but they're all pretty much standard. So they will just fill out different owners and different lot numbers and particle numbers, which I'll go through shortly, and things like that. So it can be very last minute, and the notaries are used to that, because as they're around the table with the owners, if there's anything that they need to ask or anything that they need to check, or if there's any errors, there could be errors, there could be spelling mistakes, there could be somebody's address is wrong, maybe there could be a number of things, and it's all part of the notary process, is to sit there and people then stop them and say, no, that's a spelling mistake, or no, the town where they were born wasn't there, no, their address is wrong. Because obviously errors can happen like that. But while everybody's there, you change things as you go along. And that's really why a lot of the time things are left while the last minute with these notaries before you get a copy. So don't stress out too much if you are coming out here and you haven't had a copy straight away, because it is fairly normal. So don't be sort of jumping up and down on the person that you're dealing with, because it is fairly normal for that to happen. So in terms of what we do, the way we do it, I'm not sure how other people do it, but there's certain documents that we must have. So these documents, I'm going to put them on the screen now, and then we're going to go through each one. Obviously, there are other documents as well. These are not going to mean anything to you at the moment, but when we go through one at a time, they will. And number 5, l'atto di provenienza. I don't know why, but for some reason my keyboard's decided it doesn't want to do the little I forgot it's not a comma, what's that, hyphen? Is it? No, it's not hyphen. What's the one that's like a comma that's higher up? Can't remember my English words. But my keyboard suddenly decided to hide that from me, and I can't find it. So if anybody knows anything about why keyboards suddenly change and how to change it back, then please email me at info@homeinaessal. Because if not, then this is going to be thrown out of the window that's just to my left. Anyway, so these are all semicolon. Yes, that's the one, isn't it? Thank you for that. So these are the documents these are the preliminary documents that we collect, that we expect to get from owners, or we expect our agents to give us these kind of things, so all the checks can start. Apostrophe, I don't know which one it is now. No, it's not a semicolon, is it? Is it? We're going to spend all on it's just the one dash. When sometimes you get the 2, which is the quote sign, which is it's just the 1. And we're going to have a big argument about this now. I can't remember. Tony will look it up on Google, I'm sure. Anyway, so let's get started on this. So the Visora catastale. This is a really important document, because what this document shows us, and I'm going to give you an example of a Visora, even though this is, I've obviously blanked off where the details are, because these are private documents. But what a Visora does is it tells us. We usually get one called a Visora, a historical check, if you like. Visora storico it's called, but it's all the same things. What this does is it gives us a first look at the property to tell us who the owners are. Because obviously, we've been to a house and everything else, and we think, okay, it's all well and good, but can we see who actually owns it? Well, this gives us quite a lot of information. Hopefully you can see my little arrow. Can you see that, Tone, on the screen, the little arrow? Yep. Okay. So at the top part of here will usually be the number of owners. In this case, this was owned by 2 people. Obviously, I blanked that off. And then on the end, it tells us what they actually owned, what percentage they owned. So if it's half and half, obviously it will come up as half and half. Sometimes they come up, I don't really know why, but this is saying they own it 1,000 for 1,000. The second person, usufruto, is a different thing altogether. Just to quickly say what that is if we decided to pass this house down to our children now while we're alive and wanted to pass everything, then we could have what we call usufruto, which means that we can't be thrown out of it. They can't sell it from under our feet. We can't be thrown out. We've got as much rights to stay here. And usufruto dies with the person. So when we pass away, then usufruto will automatically be, not automatically, but you get it deleted from the documents. So that's That's what that is. Anyway, then what it does, it gives us some information. These boxes here are really important bits of information. It gives us the folder numbers, it gives us the particle numbers, and it gives us a sub number if there is a sub. These are really important because what people don't understand is in Italy is, or people buying here, is it sounds crazy, but the numbers on your door can change often. You've probably been to Italy before and seen about 4 or 5 different numbers on doors and that kind of thing. And it's because sometimes the council change them. If you turn a window into a door, then you'll get a number. There could be a number of reasons why this has happened. So this is one of the things that when we actually get to the signings, or people, when they see the documents, they'll say, well, it says number 30 on the door because I've seen the video, but yet it's showing as number 5. And that could be because if there's not been any changes for years and years, it may have been number 5 before, but it's now number 30. So I know you're probably all thinking, well, that is just a mad thing, a mad system. But that's why this information that you're seeing on the screen now is so important to us, because this gives us the folder numbers, the particle numbers, and a sub if there is any number. So what that does is that will pinpoint the property to a place on a map and also to some floor plans, which I'm going to show you shortly as well. It also gives us some information to let us know that in this case, category A is a property, is a house of some sort. And category C is a garage, or it could be storage or a canteen or something like that. It also gives us here it says 8.5 Varni. Varni is a room. So you may think, how can you have 8.5 rooms? Well, for instance, things like bathrooms could be classed as half a room. You could have, it all sounds very strange, it's just the way it's made up, but this also gives us information about how many rooms are in this property before we get the floor plans. But in this case, let's say it was 8.5, but also corridors or little storage areas and things like that could be count towards half a room, if you like. If the numbers change, how does this affect mail delivery? To be honest with you, that's a great question. The mail people here are absolutely, obviously in the bigger cities and things like that, and in the apartments it's fairly straightforward, but in old towns and in the countryside it must be a nightmare for them. But they learn the people's names. They know where these people live. It's incredible. So don't worry too much. I mean, the number that you have on your door, or that's written on the door, that's the most prominent number, will be the number that everybody goes by. And you can also register your house on Google Maps as well, so people can find you. But you'll be amazed. The post people just get to know. It's an incredible system, but they manage and they find you with no problem at all. So they just know from the surname and from the property, they know exactly where the house is. But great question. The other thing that this document gives us, it gives us the bit that's hidden. It gives us the address of the property, which is obviously, oops, clicked on the wrong one. So we know then what we're dealing with, even though the numbers may be different. And it also gives us the famous rendita. This rendita figure is really, really useful for us, because when we work out all the fees and taxes, when we put it on a video, we use these rendita figures, because there's a calculation that you do to arrive to the taxable value of the property, what you'll pay taxes on. I'm not going to go into that today, because that's for a different live stream. We're talking more about what the notary is doing. So when we send this in, this goes to the notary. Once we've checked everything and everything seems to be fine, this document then goes to the notary, because this is basically saying this is the property that we're going to be selling, and then we will provide further documents to support exactly what we're doing. We have to send the details of the passports, of the carte d'identità, the identity cards of all the owners, and that kind of thing. So this makes up this is a really important document. The next one is a planimetria. Planimetria is basically floor plans. So a simple, you've seen floor plans everywhere else in the world, and this is what they look like. And the thing with floor plans is, very often floor plans will need changing. There may be some work that people have done over the years and they've not updated the floor plans, but it is the owner's responsibility to update the floor plans, because it's them, when they go to the signing, they are saying, this is my property. So that's a big thing here. Now, errors can happen. Errors can happen. There was one the other day. There was a tiny door missing off the floor plans, and the geometer had to add that in. But it is a responsibility of the owners are declaring to the notary that is how the floor plans of this property, that is the way it is. If there's any discrepancy on those floor plans, then this should be changed beforehand and changed, because sometimes people will say, well, let's just you could just sort that out after, which is true, but you shouldn't be doing that, because you're declaring in front of the notary something else. There is an argument when there's a tiny wall that you could be knocking out afterwards, and ignore what I'm going to say now, but if there's a tiny wall sort of that you're going to knock out afterwards to make it a bigger room, and it's not on the documents, then I'm saying nothing. But I think you get my gist what I'm trying to say. But the floor plans are there to basically make sure that the properties are being registered correctly, because sometimes properties will be on one level, then they've built up another 3 levels on top, but they've not told the tax office. They've not declared it. They may have even done the permissions for it and done everything correct on that side, but they've not declared it to the tax people, to the land registry people. And that can happen quite a lot. The reason why they do that is they keep it as if it's just a garage, so they don't have to pay taxes on the other 3 floors, if you like. So it can happen. I have seen it happen where there has just been literally a ground floor and nothing else, and then they've had to redo all the floor plans and make sure permission was done, and all the rest of it. Let's have a quick look at this message here. If you buy 2 adjacent properties, is it possible to merge them into one tax parcel to avoid paying second home taxes on one of them? That's a good question, Spot, because the thing is, because this happens quite a lot, because you properties in Italy, they tend to be, when you see these huge properties, they tend to be split up into apartments. You have ground floor, middle floor, top floor, and whatever, and you'll tend to see that they are all registered as individual properties. Maybe father had one, brother had one, and mum and dad had the one at the bottom. Now, if you went to buy that property and you were coming here to become a resident, which is what I'm presuming that you're talking about here, Spot, then the problem would be is you have got 3 individual properties in the same building, but they're all completely separate, if you like. So you could then claim residency on one, but the other 2 you can't. So yes, you can actually merge them together. You can declare in front of the notary they're going to be merged together, provided that there is the possibility to do it in the sense of there is access from, there's quite a few things that geometers have got to take into consideration. You've got to be able to access these levels from inside the property. That's one of the criteria. So there is other criteria, but you're getting into realms now of geometers, but you do need to check that. But if you've got a staircase that links all these together, or a door that links them together, then you can declare that you're going to do this, and you can do what we call a fusione, which means then it becomes one property. And you can declare that at the time of the signing. You have 18 months to do it, and then the taxes you paid stand, and they are valid, because the notary will only charge you one lot of taxes for all 3 places or 2 places or whatever it is, and you're declaring that within 18 months you're going to put an internal staircase in, or you're going to do work to make sure that these things are joined together. So it is a good question, because then obviously you don't pay the second home taxes and that kind of thing, but you do need to check with the geometer first. Okay, so we've done the floor plans. The next one that we're going to show you is the estratto di mappa. This is important, especially when you've got land and things like that, because we need to see that, because if we've got a parcel of land, if somebody's saying, I'm going to sell you this garden behind, we've had a case like it, one that I'm actually working on now, where there's a piece of garden behind that didn't come under the same plot number as the house and anything else, but the person sent me the documents for the property, sent me the documents for the land, and everything seems absolutely fine. But without seeing a map, I don't know where that land is. And it could be that the land is 3 kilometers away from the house or something like that. So obviously we want to double check all these lot numbers and plot numbers and all the rest of it. Even though we've checked the floor plans and everything else, we do want to be certain that what we're looking at is what's been agreed. So an estratto di mappa it looks like this. So you have all these different lot numbers. So these are all lots of land, all of these 404, 406, 407, 4. You can see in some areas there's just really thin, this particular case, all these really thin strips of land were like that because all the local people were given this land years and years and years ago to use for crops and things like that, because all of this land led down to a stream at the bottom. So in this particular case, it was split up. So all the people from around, everybody had a strip each, and then decided to use it for their garden, for their crops and things like that. But this is what it looks like. So in this case, if we knew that here, I don't know if you can see it, but the reference is 4070. If we knew that that's the property, because we've looked at the previous document, this one that gives us 4070, okay, and we've got different subs, sub 2 and sub 3, so we're talking about different things. We're talking about a garage and a house, but 4070 in folder 1, and it will give the name of the council and all the rest of it. When we look at this is only a copy of the map, the more official looking than this, but you can see here folder 1, particle number 4070. So we know we're talking about that. So then if they said the piece of land that they're selling with it was a long stretch, let's say if we went to the house and we knew that it was a long stretch such as this one, 404, that's what we're then looking for. We're looking for 404. We're also looking for 410 because we've been there and we know that belongs. We're also looking for 850 and 688. And that's why then all these documents are all double checked, because if all of a sudden they're telling you that 410 is included in the price, but the reality is it's not, what they're selling is 310, then obviously we've got a problem because the land is nowhere near the house. So that's why these things are checked as well. The notary is not, the only thing that he uses this document for is to look at the particle numbers that neighbor the plots of land that you're buying, because he will, the notaries are extremely thorough, as you'd expect them to, but as well as describing the property and giving you the plot numbers and giving you the lot numbers and checking that with land registry, then checking that with the floor plans and making sure everything's, as well as all that, and then checking the map to so everybody knows what they're buying, they will also say that it's bordering this lot number, this lot number, this lot number, or this person, so they're trying to cover every angle possible. So when somebody mentioned, well, if it says number 30 on the outside, but the documents say 42, first of all, the notary's saying, well, here's all the land register documents. So we know we're talking about that. We've looked at the map. We know that that's where the house is. It borders this person, this person. There can be no confusion about what you are buying. And that's the idea of these. So for us personally, we want to see these, especially when it comes to pieces of land, because we want to make sure what's being agreed is what you're getting. And then we take a copy of this as well, and that's then used to work out all the neighbors, who they are, and that gets put on the contract as well. So that's quite an important document. The other thing, then, another important part of everything, once we've got all of this information, we then need to know things like planning permissions and that kind of thing to make sure everything's being done correctly. Now, properties prior to 1967, you will see the date 1967 on most contracts, if not all of them, because 1967 in Italy was a year when, after that point, you had to ask for planning permission for everything that you did. Prior to 1967, if you had land, people just built pretty much wherever they wanted, and you didn't need that permission. So what you'll usually find on the contract, it will say that this property was built prior to 1967, so that gets away with not needing any permission to show that it was allowed to be built. So that will the vast majority of sales that we're involved in, they will be pre-1967. So that then gets rid of the need for where's the permission to build. Then you're looking for restorations that's been done. Now, restorations such as changing the tiles, changing the kitchen, all of that, put a new bathroom suite in, all that kind of thing is not it is not required in the sense of we don't need to add that to the documents, because these are minor restorations. You know, if somebody's put new floors in, as in new tiles and all that kind of stuff, maybe some plastering, all that, you don't need to do that. You don't need to sort of ask permission for that. You can, what we are looking for is if somebody has added a bathroom, if somebody's, I don't know, put an extension on or that kind of thing. And from that instance, what you would ask the owners, you would say, do you have details of the works that you've had done? And they should then give up those details to you, because there'll be protocol numbers, there'll be stamps and everything else showing that the council gave permission. If they said, we did it 20 or 30 years ago, we don't have any information whatsoever, then we have to do what is on the next part, which is, let's go back to this, the accesso agli atti. Accesso agli atti means that we are requesting from the council access to all the acts that have gone off for that property. What do we mean by that? We mean any planning permission that's been asked for any works there, we want the council to give us a copy of that. So this usually has a cost of about 80 euros, depending on the council. It can be less. And what we're doing then is collecting all the information that the council has on this property. So if the owners can't give it us because they've lost all the documents, or father passed away and no idea where the documents are, then we ask for, because you can't just say, oh yeah, I got planning permission, it was in 2015 and they said yes and I can do it. You can't just write that on the act. Everything needs to be done properly. So we ask the council then gives us documents of everything that's been done in that property. With that information, just so I'm going to show you this, we get copies of all the plans that went in there, and this gives us all the information. Obviously this is just a standard one that they've done, and it gives us protocol numbers and things like that. At the bottom left where it says copia di ricevuto corretta del comune con timbro o protocollo, that is a copy of the correct documents, if you like, from the council with the stamp of the council or the protocol number. And that's what we need. Again, these then get added on to the Notary's Act. So the notary is not going to, if he knows some work's being done and no permission's being asked for, then obviously he's not going to go ahead, or she's not going to go ahead and do this sign. If you're saying, yeah, we've done work, but we can't show you the documents because it was done, basically, if you've done it illegally, it becomes an absolute nightmare. And that's why it's such a huge, huge thing that I say to everybody, whatever you do, when you're getting work done, and it's important work, structural work, adding rooms, adding bathrooms, you must make sure you do it with the right people. Because if you're using people that shouldn't be doing the job, then they're not going to ask for permission because they can't. Then you're going to be stuck when you come to sell. And yes, you can pay sanctions, you can, but you need to make sure that the council will allow you to have done that. If somebody just puts an extension up, there's a good chance that the council will have said, well, no, you can't put extensions up. So even if you said, well, I'll pay a sanction, I'll pay a fine to do it, then obviously going to say there's no fine that you can do because you're not allowed to do it. So it's really important, whoever you're using, especially if it's whoever you're using at any time, but make sure you're using registered people, and make sure you use a geometer, because there are incentives to make it worth your while doing that. You get so much off your VAT if you do things through a geometer, down from 22% to 10%. So you sort of pay the geometer in the one hand, but you're getting the money back in the other hand through the reduction in the taxes that the Italian government's offering, because you're saying, I'm going to do it right. And then when you come to sell, you can say, yeah, all my documents are correct. You'll be amazed how many times when we go and see a property, or when we're with the agents and when we're going to, and the agents ask for all the information, then you do some quick searches and all of a sudden you think, well, it's not right. There's no bathroom there, or there's 2 bedrooms there and this is showing nothing. Happens all the time, and people will say, yeah, we got it, we definitely got the, my dad was really precise or my mum was really precise, we definitely got it. Well, we need it then, and that's where we get this accesso degli atti. The other really important document that we get, and all this is all in preparation for going to the notary's office, because the notary wants all this. They expect you to give them everything and then they will check. They're not going to check everything for you. They're not going to say, okay, leave it with me, let me do a full search and everything. No, you give it all the information to them, and then they will say, look, we're missing this, or this person that passed away, that left it to their son, we need the death certificate, we need the protocol numbers for some works that they had done. They will give you a list of things. So we go prepared well in advance to get this list as well, I say well in advance, but to get this list as soon as possible of things that we still need to provide, and they do their checks, and then they do further checks. They will check for debts and all that kind of thing. So that's part of what the notary does as well. But they expect all these documents to be in order. They expect to see the story of the property, and that's where the next thing comes in, the l'atto di provenienza. This is really important as well, because this is how this person come to get this property, because the notary needs to go back one person. So, you're saying to me that you're selling me your house. That's all well and good that you're saying that you're selling your house, but I need to know how you got the house. So these documents, the l'atto di provenienza is basically the act that they made to get the house. So there's different types of provenienza, as we call it, and that's because maybe you got it handed down to you. Maybe your parents passed away, something like that. They handed the property down, and that way then you got the property by means of what we call successione, which is when somebody passes away. It's like when you get your inheritance, if you like, and they have to register that. Now, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's still in dad's name or mum's name or granddad's name that clearly died however many years ago, but they never changed the documents over, usually, again, for tax reasons, never changed it up, but they should do that. And before the signing, obviously, they've got to do it. So, and then the notary needs to see, well, how did you get it? That's the atto di provenienza. That is a really important document. It's also an important document for us, because if we say, I don't know, let's say, for instance, that there's a property that the floor plans are a little bit, they're not correct, or there's something not right. The atto di provenienza will describe the property, because when you buy a property here, as well as all the reference numbers, as well as all the lot numbers, as well as all the floor plans that's attached, as well as the tax documents, as well as all the neighbors that are named on there, what the notary will often do as well, not on all cases, but what he will often do, or she, they will describe the property as well. So they will have a full description of this property. So then we will have that as part of the atto di provenienza, because if somebody says to us, no, these floor plans are right, it was always like that, it's always been this way, you can go back to the atto di provenienza and say, well, hang on a minute, the description when you bought it, it said it was just 1 storage room and a kitchen, whereas now you've got 10 floors and 40 bedrooms. So you see, so all these things are all checked. It's important. Every one of these documents is important to get the story of the property. How did that person get it? Because what the notary wants when you're there is the rightful owners sat in front of him. Because if granddad is still on the documents, but granddad died 30 years ago, the notary would just say, well, that's no good to me. Granddad should be here. And even though it's obvious that granddad passed away, we need to see that passage from granddad to you, because maybe granddad had other grandchildren as well that you're just trying to cut out. So do you see how all of this is put together in a way that the notary has got such a clear picture of where and how this property has come to these people, the exact details of the property, and then they look at all the debts and all that kind of thing as well. and they will go back and they will find things that, because sometimes we could do or agents can do a search for debts, but they can't go as deep as what a notary can. If the notary can spot something, which recently is done in a recent case for us, and spotted something and brought it to light. And these things are really important. He needs to be sure that when they do the contracts and you're buying a property, they need to be as sure as possible that one person can't sue the other person, in the sense of, well, I didn't know that, so you should have told me. And there's so many phrases throughout the contract that's reminding us this. They're passing what's the word I'm looking for? They're passing the responsibility to the owners and to the buyers, in the sense of, the notary will say, I have downloaded these documents from the land registry office. I can assure you that these are the correct documents. Can you now must assure me that this is a true true version of the reality, if you like. So there's lots of phrases throughout. They will say things like, there's another phrase that people always worry about that talks about the utilities on the property, the electrics and things like that. And there's a phrase that will say that the utilities were done correctly at the time, under the regulations of the time, but they may not be up to today's regulations, but they work. And that, again, is an important phrase, because if you don't add things like that, and then somebody says, well, hang on a minute, you told me you did all the electrics, you told me they were brand new, and now I'm finding out this phrase from the notary that that's not the case. And that's because the notary doesn't want to leave themselves open, where somebody can say, well, the notary didn't write that it wasn't, or the notary said this, or so they everything is done in a way that covers you, the purchaser, the sellers, and also the notary. So there's lots of different things. There's a part where it talks about the square meters of a house, and it will say that the price was agreed not by square meter, but by the property as it is, if you like. Again, the reason for that is the documents may state 65 square meters, but let's say you got home and you measured it, and the documents go back years and years and years. You measured it and it's actually 64.5 square meters after with technical lasers and wherever else you've done it. But then you could, in effect, then try and sue the seller to say, well, you told me it was 65, it's actually 64.999, so I want 10 euros off you, for instance. But the notary will cover that. They will say certain phrases throughout. And that's the great thing about the system, is it is very, very thorough, very thorough. But then there's other things added in there to cover everybody. And the idea is, I say, the watertight. So everything that's been provided, the notary has downloaded everything from the official land registry. They've done a search for debts and all the rest of it. But then there's declarations from the owners. And there's also declarations from the sellers to say that you're accepting what's sold. You're accepting, you found it to your liking, is part of the thing. Because, you can actually turn around and say, well, I don't like this. This isn't really what I thought in the end, because I thought I could get my car in that garage, but it's just a little bit too big. Again, that's leaving a slight door open for some sort of legal action. So the way to get rid of things like that is to say, the declaration from you're happy to go ahead. You're buying the property as it is. So it's extremely thorough, but there's also declarations from both sides. So then we've got the last thing, which is an important thing, but for me, it's not worth the paper it's written on, but there you go, is the Appit, which is basically an energy certificate, which you will find the vast majority, the vast majority of properties here, especially the older properties, are going to be the lowest, because obviously they're stone built, they may have old windows, they may have old roofs and all the rest of it. Very difficult to get off that bottom baseline until you start doing works and things like that. But we have to have these energy certificates as part. I think they do it all over the world now, but certainly in Europe, excuse me, they're everywhere. It's part of what's got to be done. So when we go to the notary's office, we're also going armed with that. There's also one other thing that we have to take, and it's to do with your land. Any land that you're buying, we have to have a certificate from the council to say the type of land it is. And the reason for that is the taxes are much higher on certain types of land. So the taxes are much higher on building land. What people used to do in the past is it may have been building land, but they'd just say, no, we're cultural. That way, then you pay tax on agricultural instead of building land. So the way they stopped that was to make people get certificates, what we call a CDU, which is a certificate to show what class your land is. In. So all of this has all been gathered by us from the agents, or whoever we're dealing with at the time. Is all gathered, and also it's double checked by our geometer as well, just to make sure that they're happy with everything. Anything that seems incorrect or needs dealing with beforehand, so let's say the documents are not right, the floor plans are not right, there's grandfather passed away, but they didn't do the successione, things like that are then done before the signing, because they have to be done before the signing, otherwise it can't be sold. So our geometer gets on the case, and they will say to me either, look, we can do this within a couple of months, a month, or whenever it is. This one, we may have to wait a little bit longer because we're waiting for these documents to be done, and the owners then get on with it. And then in the end, once we've got all of that bundled together and everything is how it should be, then we pass it to the notary. Then the notary secretary starts doing their checks, and then in the end, the notary does all the checks at the end as well. So it's checked, and checked again. And that's what makes the process what it is. And in my opinion, it's a great process. And it's a common sense process as well, but everything needs to be correct. We can't just go in there and think, let's see if we can pull the wool over the notary's eye. It's just not going to happen. So there you go. So that's a little insight, even though we didn't talk too much about the inside of the office, but that's what happens. That's how all these things are all put together, and I hope it's just put a little bit clearer of how these documents are put together and what happens in the notary's office. So I'll take one quick message now, because I can see Domenico is eagerly waiting. So if you are interested in a place that has been updated, is it possible to learn any of the info before making an offer? Depends what you're wanting to what you're wanting to know. I mean, people put the prices on for the property, and they've usually taken everything into consideration. So this, obviously you want to know the kind of restorations they've done. It's always a delicate one, because when people put a price on, it's usually being given a price, usually from an agent or somebody similar, somebody knows what they're doing. So for us to then try and find a way to lower that, in the UK, it happens all the time. It may happen where you're from. I don't know. In the UK, we try, if we can get £10 off that house, if we can get £5 off that house, and if you come from where Tony comes from, if he can get 50 pence, he will get that taken off. But here it tends to be a little bit done in the way of, look, we've taken into consideration everything, and this is our price. But if you do want to find some information out, then of course feel free to ask the agents, ask them, and then you try and do whatever you can. That's the end of it, folks. But don't disappear, because now it's the second part of, I was going to say Bill and Ted's Adventure. It's similar to that anyway, isn't it? It's the second part of Domenico and Tony's tongue-twisting trials. So what you need to do now, you need to listen. Tony's going to repeat what it said in Italian, and then Domenico is going to say it in his best English. And then I will be keeping an eye, Tony, not you, because I know sometimes you like to cheat, and people that say that they like Tony, you like to let them win. I will be keeping an eye to see who guesses the film. I've got a feeling that I might win tonight, but we'll soon find out. Let's bring Tony back on.
Hey up.
Hey up. Okay, let me get rid of this this screen.
Oh.
Are we ready? Let's get Domenico on. Buonasera.
Ciao. Good
Come
evening.
stai?
Ciao, Tony.
Come stai?
Bene.
Ciao.
So there you go, people. That's your first lesson in Italian. Come stai means how are you? So there you
How
go.
are you, Tony?
Tutto bene.
Have you seen?
Good.
You seen how they're practicing their Italian? That's all they know. So don't let them, Okay. Domenico, adesso ti mando quello tuo. Un
Good
attimo.
luck, Tommy.
I'm going to send
Buona
Domenico's
fortuna.
buona fortuna. Well done. Buona fortuna. That's
Grazie,
another word.
altrettanto.
What does that mean then, Tony? Altrettanto.
Another. No.
You say that to when you say altrettanto, you say like another thing, and lots of things to you as well. Altrettanto.
Yeah.
You didn't know. They don't make it out as if you knew.
I do.
Okay, Domenico, ho mandato adesso. Tony, are you ready?
As ready as I shall ever be.
Okay, so in your best Italian, remember, you're a young lady that's just a little bit annoyed with the situation. Allora, Domenico, quando tu fai questo, tu sei una giovane donna, ok, che è un po', come posso dire, stufato di una situazione, va bene?
Okay.
Aspetta prima per Tony. Tony, go for it.
Okay. Ma non posso uscire per un appuntamento perché devi stare con me ogni minuto. Voglio dire, se lui volesse invitarmi a casa sua dopo, ci vorresti anche tu?
Hai capito, Domenico?
Il film no, però è stato bravissimo Tony.
So he said Tony was very good. I still don't know what the film is.
Grazie mille, Tommy.
Okay. In his best English ever, Domenico, vai.
Allora, femminile?
Sì.
But I can't go out
Aspetta,
on a date.
aspetta. I need to tell you that Domenico said, do I need to talk like just in case you're thinking that's his voice. Even though when he speaks in English, he does sound like that, but he's getting into actress mode.
Fantastic, Tommy. Fantastic.
Vai.
Da capo?
Da capo, from the beginning.
Allora, but I can't go out on a date because you have to be with my every minute. I mean, what if I want to invite me up to his place afterwards? Are you going to come too? Sta ridendo anche mia moglie dall'altra parte.
He says his wife's laughing from the other side. I can't believe Brad's got it. Unbelievable. Is he the first? I think he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Brad, how did you? This is Bomber Brad, everybody, that I was hoping to have seen while he's been over here, but not managed to. I can't. Who's written the? Did you give him the answer, Tony?
No.
Have you got Brad's telly? I bet you've WhatsApped him, haven't you? Absolutely fantastic. So that is the winner. I can't believe you got that, Brad. I just cannot believe. Somebody is definitely doing something with Google Translate. Definitely. Bravo, Domenico.
Thank you.
Tony, well done. Ci vediamo, ci sentiamo domani.
Ci vediamo.
Ciao Tony.
Ciao, ci vediamo.
Ciao.
Ciao. Oh dear. I can't believe. What's this? Paul Villafranca. I have to say, every time I hear Domenico, I think of Bela Lugosi as Dracula. I don't know who Bela Lugosi is, but I'll go with that.
No, you're far too young, David.
Yeah. Well, is that an old Dracula? Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Well, there you go. I can't believe that Brad got that. Brad, you've definitely done something. Definitely done something. Oh no, it's Brad Harrison. It's not the Brad. It's not Bomber Brad.
This is why Brad got it. Look,
it's Ryano Brad. That's right. I was just completely threw me there. Well done, Brad.
So, look,
definitely cheated. If they didn't get it from you, that's for certain.
No, it's Tony's pronunciation.
Is that what it was? Tony's pronunciation. Well done. There's something dodgy going off here. Definitely. Next week it's going to be extremely difficult. Okay, mate. I'll speak to you later.
See you later.
Well done, Brad. Well done, everybody. Thank you for putting up with me for an hour talking boring stuff. But occasionally we will do that. We might have a bit more fun next week. We'll have a look. We'll decide what we're going to do next week, and we've got the tour next week as well, which I can't wait for. Really excited to meet everybody on that tour, as I am all the other tours that we've got planned for this year. And if you are thinking of coming along, please go onto the website, info@homeinitaly.com, click on tours and book something there. And quick ones as well. I put an announcement. I forgot to say this earlier. I put an announcement on YouTube, I think it was. YouTube and Facebook. 60,000 followers we passed on Sunday. I actually woke up Sunday morning quite early, went onto YouTube, and it was at 59,999. And I put a quick advert onto, not an advert, just something onto Facebook to say who's going to be the 60,000, and we passed. We're now at 60,100, something like that. So thanks to you guys for all your support. I really appreciate it. Spread the word, click the likes, do whatever you got to do. Really, really appreciate all your support. And in return, we will carry on bringing you these great properties and making it, giving you confidence to come out here and hopefully purchase something as well. Whether it's through us, whether it's through somebody else, however it works best for you is absolutely fine by me. Obviously, we'd love for you to use our services, but yeah, just to get you out here is a pleasure and something that we can give back to you doing these Tuesday nights that we'll carry on doing. If you're going through a process with somebody else, or you're thinking about going through a process with somebody else, hopefully you're going to find these Tuesday evenings really useful. And also make sure you take a look at the Patreon page. We've got a great community on there. I'm hoping people chat it even more. The chat groups are starting to work well. You see some properties that nobody else has seen. You also get early access to Saturday's video properties. There's lots of adverts on our webpage for Patreon, so you can go on there, follow the link. It is a cost. It does cost €14, 14 per month, but hopefully people will find the content on there very useful. We've had so much success finding properties for people on Patreon that I'm really happy about, and these are properties that maybe other people have not seen yet, or some people will go for the Saturday properties a little bit earlier than others. So take a look at that. There's also a chat room in there and lots of other useful things. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Really enjoyed tonight, even though it was a bit of a boring subject, but important all the same. Just remember, don't take any risks. It's not worth taking any risk. Get the correct information altogether. If something doesn't sound right, then it probably isn't. Follow your instincts, and contact somebody. Contact us. If maybe you're at the last minute, you're thinking, this doesn't seem right to me, I just want to ask a question, feel free. We do the Q&As all the time, but if it's something last minute and you're really worried about it, send us an email to info@homeinitaly.com, and we will try and answer as quickly as possible. Just don't take any risks. It's not worth it. It's better to delay a signing rather than sign for something and it'd be a nightmare later. Okay, thank you so much. We will see you again next Tuesday at the same time. Have a great week.